We should never forget that the present is the only reality, the only certainty, that the future almost always turns out contrary to our expectations, that the past too was very different from what we suppose it to have been. Schopenhauer has a reputation as a pessimist, but beyond the writings of his main work, which teaches the denial of life and the material world, we find essays filled with advice from a practical point of view, aimed at the average reader and not the scholar and philosopher. In these essays, Schopenhauer gives advice on how to lead the good life, often borrowing heavily from the ancient Greeks and Romans, especially the Stoics. And sometimes his advice sounds very modern indeed. One section of the Parerga Paralipomena deals with how foolish it is to ponder too much about either the future or the past. It's about how we must live in the present, the only time we truly have. It is the height of folly to refuse the present hour of happiness or wantonly to spoil it by vexation at bygones or uneasiness about what is to come. He paraphrases Seneca approvingly. Let us remember Seneca's advice and live each day as if it were our whole life. Singulas dies, singulas vitas puta. Let us make it as agreeable as possible, as it is the only real time we have. But the tone is not entirely positive. Schopenhauer teaches us that attaining peace of mind, which is a necessary condition for truly living in the present, is a difficult task. There are two obstacles to be overwon. First, fear. Some people are so preoccupied with worry about the future or what could go wrong that they never truly enjoy the present moment. Schopenhauer recommends an exercise that is also found among the Stoics. We must first analyze our fears and realize that either we do not know when some kind of evil will befall us, or we must realize it's not likely to happen at all. So, if we are not to lose all comfort in life through the fear of evils, some of which are uncertain in themselves, and others in the time at which they will occur, we should look upon the one kind as never likely to happen, and the other as not likely to happen very soon. When we have conquered our fears, next up is the problem of desire. Desire is fundamental to our being, especially in Schopenhauer's teachings. It's the will to life at work directly through us. As such, it's hard to keep desire at bay, but if you're constantly preoccupied with what you want, you're unlikely to enjoy the present moment. This short section of Schopenhauer's occupies a strange place in his philosophy. For the record, these essays are written for the general reader, and they discuss life with one major assumption being made, namely that life is worth living in the first place. As we saw repeatedly in other videos, Schopenhauer actually advocates for asceticism, the life of the monk, fasting, prayer or meditation, abstinence, and so on. Yet he recognizes not everyone is capable of making this sacrifice. Schopenhauer himself certainly wasn't able to do so. To conclude this video, I want to read the final paragraph of this section, as I believe it's one of the most beautiful passages Schopenhauer has ever written. But first, I want to bring to mind Nietzsche's famous critique of Schopenhauer. In Beyond Good and Evil, he writes about how Schopenhauer played the flute every afternoon, and he asks the rhetorical question, is this a pessimist? I now want to read this passage and allow you, the viewer, to decide for yourself. 1,000 happy and pleasant hours are wasted in ill humor. We let them slip by unenjoyed, and sigh for them in vain when the sky is overcast. Those present moments that are bearable, be they never so trite and common, passed by in indifference, or, it may be, impatiently pushed away, those are the moments we should honor, never failing to remember that the ebbing tide is even now hurrying them into the past, where memory will store them, transfigured and shining with an imperishable light, in some aftertime, and above all, when our days are evil, to raise the veil and present them as the object of our fondest regret. Thank you for watching.